guys, just a quick note. This episode we had some technical issues on. It's our first time doing this, and the Zoom was kind of cutting out some of the stuff that I said. Next time we figured it out, I hope you enjoy.
What's up? This is the after game podcast, I guess, or is that what we call this? I don't know.
I don't know. It was the first time.
Yeah, time. So, I have so this is just we talk about it afterwards. We talk about it afterwards for the heck of it. I have the scenario right here. It's literally a page. It's actually less than a page. You want me to read it or no?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that would actually be really fun. Yeah, I've never.
Okay. Cool.
I don't see that side of the game ever, and so it's really cool, especially if it's just a page. Then it's not like school essay. But no, yeah, that would be really cool.
Exactly. So just we want to run this. We could use this page too. Scenario is played by one investigator, a police officer of any type. If they have a sidearm, the ammo should be limited to a single clip. The officer is reporting to the police evidence room or property room to retrieve a strange artwork involving murder. The artwork was found in the hand of an officer who murdered his wife with a kitchen butcher knife, gripping the artwork tightly. Investigator is let into the room by another officer in a small windowed room who takes his weapons and locks him in. When investigator finds the artwork, spot hidden rule, and picks it up, he may immediately notice a change in the environment. Now, you didn't because the POW didn't go that way, but and it's mostly like a lighting thing is what you would notice. The room is also grimier and the door is unlocked. Once he leaves, he soon notices humanoid freaks running around in police uniforms. So if you'd rolled spot hidden and looked closely, you would have seen the remnants of uniforms on their bodies.
Okay.
If seen, he will be approached by them, and the investigator will soon be attacked by the creatures. If he makes it outside, he sees how different the world is. So, Keeper's Secret. This is just to explain it real quick. The artwork is an ancient another dimension where each human in the prime dimension has a freakish humanoid doppelganger. The creatures here randomly attack one another. Being transported to the mirror dimension automatically transports your doppelganger back to your dimension, but in your body. And that's just as a note for myself, I put in the old days, only the priests were permitted to touch it, but that was long ago. Simply touching the artwork is not enough to return, since those originally sent were not intended to return. But solving the puzzle will. Once back, however, any damage done by the doppelganger will be blamed on you. The artwork is fragile, and if destroyed, the investigator is stuck with whichever dimension he was in when it happened.
So any action that I take, my doppelganger is doing in the real world.
He's taking similar actions. So, for instance, when the creatures would approach you and go and try to sort of grab for you, really what they were doing was saying, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" Not really. I shouldn't say really. Their counterpart was just saying, "What's up? What's going on?" In the other world, he was attacking you. So when you were doing what you were doing, they were perceiving things very differently. When there was 5 of them at the door and the door was suddenly starting to break, it wasn't breaking. They had keys. You were seeing it that way.
Okay.
Because it just made the most sense to you that was happening.
Okay, so a couple questions. I've got a burning question, but I'll ask this one first because this one you kind of got
a hunk of burning question.
Exactly. There's one that was definitely on my mind since the reveal at the end of the game, but then I thought of this just when you read the scenario. I'm out of water. What would have happened if I would have left the police station? If I would have actually, instead of solving it, if I would have actually just run away? What would I have seen?
So the entire world like that. So everybody is like that. Essentially, it would be you would go on a police chase. There would be kind of OJ or whatever. There would be a police chase, except your perception of it would be that you're being chased by these horrible monsters in this zombie world. That would be how it like comes off to you. Like probably what's noticeable to you now is that when you press the button, that was probably the biggest clue, is that when you press the button, a bunch of the monsters showed up.
Yeah, which honestly I didn't actually make that connection, that because I didn't realize that that is what was going on, is that I was seeing things. I mean, I knew I was seeing things differently, but I actually thought that I was. It wasn't until later that I realized, oh, I'm kind of going crazy. I'm kind of seeing things, because I initially did think that I was transported into a different dimension, because I mean, a lot of times that is what happens in Call of Cthulhu, is that you're
that basically is what's happening, but it's going to appear as if you're crazy. So like you can ask the question. You can ask the question to me now. Does that mean that really you're just crazy? And the answer would be it's intentionally ambiguous.
Yeah, and
so
I do like that
horror,
because I mean the nature of the game is very nihilistic and very just like and so some people might be turned off by that and be like, oh, like like they might have felt like they got duped or they got fooled, but I think that's interesting.
I want to kill a dragon or something. It's like, we know what game that's for. And I love D&D, don't get me wrong, but
no, but like what I mean is that like from a player's perspective, some people will try to solve the game.
Yes, which a lot of the time does make sense. I mean, there was something to solve here, and you did it, which was to solve the puzzle.
I knew,
in a sense, but
I was gonna say, I knew that solving the puzzle was going to end the game one way or another. I knew that either I would be brought back to like in regular life, or something would end, or that some horrible monster like a Cenobite or whatever would show up and kill me. But I basically knew that that was the way to end it, was to solve the puzzle.
In a sense, it was a double puzzle, and the second puzzle wasn't fair, because the second puzzle was basically how to arrange it so that when you get back, they don't think that you're a crazy person. That's, you know what I mean? Because everything you do has a counterpart. But the thing is that that's kind of not fair, because you don't really know that's what's happening and blah blah blah. But
yeah,
so
I kind of again, that's what I'm saying. Like the game is just like that, and some people might be like, feel like they got tricked and like, well, I was just trying to defend myself. But it's really interesting, because this always happens with Call of Cthulhu. If you're paying attention to the setup, that little story that the policeman told me, I could have realized, okay, I'm under a hallucination caused by this thing. These things may not actually kill me, but they're probably actual real people. And so this was actually the burning question I had, is what would have happened to me if I didn't fight back, if I didn't shoot them, if I didn't defend myself, like if I would have failed a defensive role, or if I would have just kind of not taken the proper actions to evade them, what would have happened?
So the way I was going to handle that was, and it's not in the one-page thing because it was just kind of an offhand thing, was if you decided, first of all, I knew you weren't going to do that, because Matt didn't do that. I ran this first for Mac as a playtest, and he didn't do that. But if you were to do that, instead, everything would be a sanity roll, and you would perceive it as though damage was done to your body, HP damage was done, but really it was all sanity damage. And when you finally got to 0, you would just be in a padded cell.
Oh, okay.
Hypothetically, so to you at the moment, it would feel like you were getting attacked by the creatures. So you would be like, oh no, I have to defend myself. But so if you just let them attack you, you would end up snapping, because your brain could take,
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm
glad you like it. It's like I had to deal with it some way, It's all mechanics and shit.
Yeah.
But
now I'm interested. I want to know what Mac's playthrough was like.
So just like you, he shot them. The thing is that he knew pretty early on what was going on, but he also knew, I think, there's almost no choice but to do something like that, because otherwise, like I say, you will have other consequences if you just let them attack you. I think probably the smartest thing would be just to run past everybody and get the hell out of there and try to solve the puzzle. But most people aren't going to do that. It's kind of like the thing at the beginning of Saw, where you just have to know that the key went down the drain or whatever. But
Yeah.
he played it very similar to how you did. And got inside that room for protection, ultimately had to get past the guys and everything. But he killed a lot more of them. He shot a lot of those creatures, and finally got out into the real world. He got outside, and when he got outside, it was like odd, but it wasn't quite odd enough. And he gave me the note, you should say like that the sky looks different. And I think I forgot this time to do that again.
Well, I didn't go outside.
Oh, that's right. Okay, thank God. That's
yeah, I realized that because I had set my intelligence really high, like I maxed out my intelligence, and once I figured out that I could use my intelligence to solve the puzzle, I was like, well, I really just need to get a successful roll, and my chances of getting a successful roll with this are 90%.
Right, and I decided it had to be an extreme roll because otherwise, the chance of the game being over really quickly is kind of annoying.
Right.
It still could have happened, but
right. That's funny. So wait, did he solve the puzzle, or did he just kind of, what happened?
He did not solve the puzzle. That his ending was he thinks that one of the creatures, he's like thinks it's holding him down, and it's getting closer to like and like bite him. And then I just describe how we cut to him in an ambulance and they're holding him down. Sir, please, we gotta inject this stuff. And so basically it's ended with crazy.
That's
cool. Like that ending.
That's cool.
The whole thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it would be interesting if you do run it again, or if anybody else is running the game. If it's the perspective of like the player thinks they're being attacked, but in actuality they are being like held down. It would be interesting to see how actions like the player being handcuffed almost seems like these things are like wrapping him up, or they're like constricting him or something. Like, it'd be really interesting to see what the real life, how the real counterpart is being twisted in this hallucination.
And I invite anybody who wants to run this to play that however you want. And one of the things I think is really fun about the one-page scenarios, they're very much inspired by one of my favorite Book of Cthulhu scenarios is one called Fear's Sharp Little Needles, and they're almost all 3 or 4 pages. And so that's one of the things that inspired me. Like, well, if you just have one page, because what's cool about those ones is that they give you just enough. You can kind of do whatever you want with it, fiddle around, make it as long or as short as you like. And so I think the same thing is true with the one-page thing. You can extend this and do kind of whatever you want in any direction, or even change the logic of it, make it that he is crazy. Do whatever you want to do with that sort of stuff.
How long are typical campaigns? Because I've never been a gamekeeper, so I don't actually ever see that side. So how long are the longer games that we play? How long are those text wise usually?
It depends. I think that a good scenario should be like 4 to 10 pages. I think I really don't like how many scenarios are like 30 pages, and there are a bunch that are like that. If you're a keeper, which the keeper of arcane lore, another way to say a dungeon master or a game master, you have to go through all that to figure out what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. And it can be very annoying because there's a lot of stuff that's not even helpful, really, like vague stuff, and you're like, 30 pages of this. I almost always end up cutting it down.
Yeah, because I remember we played the solo game, and the one where I was like in a corpse's body or something.
Yes, that's one of my favorite ones. That's based on one from the book Monophobia, but I reversed it, what was happening, to make it a little more interesting. We might run that at some point with Julian or somebody, maybe.
That'd be fun.
I think I ran it already with Mac, so we couldn't use him, but Julian, yeah.
I know you ran it with Chance and me. I don't know if you may have ran it with Mac too.
I've run it with almost everybody, and that's why I think I have run it with Mac. I knew I run it with Phil, yeah.
But that was
these are just random people. Everyone's like, "Who are these random people?" It's like you'll probably meet these people, if we keep doing this.
But that's what I was thinking when you were saying that, like you have to write like 30 pages just so you have stuff to pull from. Because I think there was a time where I went to like a library or I went to some place and it wasn't necessarily a place that was planned for me to go to.
No, yeah,
And so it was kind
sometimes
of
that
like,
happens.
and so I think you kind of, I remember at that game, I think you needed to take like maybe a minute just to be like,
Yeah,
hold on, I don't have a plan for that. Give me a
that
second.
happens a lot. That
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, give me a second.
So that's probably why
You're
they
good at vision. Yeah, like,
yeah.
that's one of those things you have to
But
do.
honestly,
You have to be able to improv if you're
I
going
was
to
gonna
be
say
a
you're really
game
good
master.
at improv,
Thank you.
advising. You're good at ad-libbing and improvising, and so I mean, which are the same thing. But
Thank you. I think it often sounds a little too ridiculous, but I agree. But I mean, I really appreciate your, saying that. But
yeah, I mean
you
the
have to be able to do it at least a little bit in order to do the job, I think, because otherwise it's too stiff.
right. I mean the first 3 minutes of the game, we were both ad-libbing.
Yeah, because I asked you a stupid question, which was what's the item number? Now there is an item number, and I just forgot to show you the thing that has it on there. And so you just made it up. You were able to go with it,
That
and thank God.
yeah, because I was if we were probably doing this more relaxed, like we weren't like recording it, I probably would have actually broken character and everything and been like,
You would have said, "Did
wait,
you give me that number?" You always say, "Yeah, I would." I
yeah,
thought you were gonna do that.
I would have actually been like, wait a minute, why am I here? Like, you didn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Like, so what am I doing here? And because we just
All
kind of
I said
started,
was that you were going to get an item. So yeah.
yeah, and I was like, well, I'm a police detective. I can figure stuff out as long as I'm not like making like a fucking story. I was like, I can ad lib. And so I don't know what the reason I was doing there, but I think you said that I was getting the evidence for court, which I was like, once you said it, I was like, yeah, yes, and
That makes
so I was just
sense.
like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So there is some ad libbing.
a few of the details that I was playing with that I was just kind of making up on the fly was that I had like heard about things, but it was like stuff where it's like, oh yeah. I mean, I heard about it, but no one, really told me what happened. And
That's
so
a good way to play that. Yeah.
we were kind of playing back and forth with like ad-libbing the first few minutes.
And that makes
pretty fun.
that ad lib. And the thing is that your ad lib made sense because you did roll history and you didn't really get a very good roll. You didn't really get much out of it. So it made sense, I think, that you reacted in that way. So I like stuff like that. Like ad libbing is great. It has to be consistent. And so I enjoyed. Yeah, I enjoyed. Hopefully it wasn't too like. Hopefully the audience wasn't like like that. Hopefully it wasn't too obvious that it was an ad lib. Like that great line from Mystery Science Theater 3000, where this guy. It's like a shot from this one dumb '50s movie, and it's just two guys like standing there like this, and then they go, "This was an ad lib, went nowhere." This was one of my favorite bits, but yeah, overall, I really like how this one went, and I'm excited for the next one, which I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now is titled "The Grave," which
Okay,
I know very simplistic, deliberately simplistic.
Can you? I mean, you don't have to say anything about it, but can you?
I want you to make an everyman character. I don't want him to be another cop because I think that would not. It's like let's just be a little different, and I think it'd be better for the story to be an everyman kind of person.
Okay, so I should just kind of really just figure it out, like not, or I should just kind of.
It's modern day scenario, and I want you to be an average person. So don't be a rock star. Don't be a cool detective. Don't want to be a policeman at all, actually. Just be a normal person. I get that cops can be normal too, but since we get a cop for this one, I'm like,
yeah. No, I definitely, I mean, some people might think that the game was kind of going my way a little too well, and that really is just kind of the point.
Dude, you got some great roles.
I did. I got some really good roles, and when I'm a cop, when I make a cop character, there's just certain things that I know to put points in. And I was telling Julian this, like with a lot of the stuff, you don't need to be experienced in everything, especially if you know roles you want to do. You like I
Our
know that my
friend,
intelligence is really
Julian.
high, and so if there's any
Right.
chance that I can word my request in a way that utilizes intelligence, it's going to help me.
That's
And
something I learned a long time ago playing Fallout New Vegas, and I use that on every RPG now. Is that it's like this skill, I'm really good at this. Yeah, I suck at this, but whatever. Someone else in the team could probably handle that. I can do this thing amazing.
right, and
I
like
think that's a better way to do it.
and like the really, I mean, when it comes to like the main stats you're doing, my big one is usually intelligence, and like
Right.
I'll try to have strength and what is it, agility
Oh yeah. The agility is really
or
good in most
dexterity or something.
games.
But yeah, I'll usually will try to have those just
Dexterity what it
because
is in Radio Cthulhu.
yeah, I need to have something in case I actually get attacked. But intelligence is good because it helps you solve the stuff. And then once you get to like the next stuff, I know spot hidden and listen are always going to be like things that every person is going to be using no matter what they are. So like
That's
next
spot
character
hidden.
yeah, like you're going to be looking for things, whether you're a trained investigator or just a regular person. And then
Listen is a
the,
good skill. It's not always like listen is a good skill, but it's not always super necessary. Spot hidden is basically always necessary. I don't think there's
yeah,
one scenario where you wouldn't need it unless thank you,
I'm a
Tanner.
blind person.
Yes. I don't want that one ever
Hey,
to do
we can do that as a Jallo. B for blind.
We could.
So,
You want to
that's an
call it
option.
that for blind?
What? I mean,
okay.
Dario Argento's the cat of nine tails. The main guy is blind.
That's honestly, I love that idea. I'm gonna come up with that. That'll be I don't know if that should be a short one or actually a full length one. I'll think about that.
That would be really
That's great.
cool. And what's
Yeah.
also really great about this format is a lot of these could be expanded on in longer games. Like these could be the
Some
like
of them,
the
so like this idea, I like that it's a short thing, and most of these things I'm coming up with, I like that they're a short thing, but some like it depends on the thing. Some of them could be like I said, you can do whatever you want with them. I mean, it's like just real quick, I don't want to make like a huge comment on this, but like recent, like there's been a lot of controversy the last like 5 years or whatever, where people are like, well, D&D says now you gotta play it like this, you gotta play it like that. They changed the word race to the word species. They changed this to that. And it's like, you play the game however you want to play the game. However you want to play the game. So you can take that one-page scenario that we just did, and yeah, you can make that a 30-minute scenario. I'm good with it. I like it as a short. If you want to make it longer, you can do that because there's definitely places you can expand with it. Certainly, it's like the way it's done. The whole point is it's almost like a scene from a scenario. So you can totally expand it.
Yeah. And so it would be interesting. I mean, maybe not this scenario specifically, but other very short scenarios of this similar length, you could see them as almost being like the opening scene to a movie. Like, I mean, the fucking last reboot of Friday the 13th had an intro scene that was like 25 minutes long or some shit. I don't know if it was that long, but you know what I mean?
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
You know, and it's just like the title card comes in 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the movie. And like
it's
that was
absolutely right. Or like if you're doing a campaign and you want to start it with this, you could make the first day that you play it like a short day, and then the next day is longer. It's however you want to use it.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Again, something like this scenario, probably not, because it's a lot of it is that reveal at the end. And once you know what it is, you're like, well, I'm going to play this differently. I'm not going to be hurting people, but like,
right. It would still be a puzzle figuring out exactly how to play that, but it's not the same thing once that's revealed. You're supposed to kind of be confused. It reminds me of, there's another one like that. I forget the exact name, but there's one in Fear's Sharp Little Needles that takes place in an assisted living home, and that has a very similar kind of thing. I won't say anything else about it.
A few more thoughts on that. Like, not saying to do this, but like if we run a short scenario where my character is blind, and I'm just thinking Jallo because I mentioned that, and because that's like somewhat of a common trope. It
Well,
would be interesting.
People are thinking Jellos. You love Jellos. I get it.
Yeah. If it ends in a way that's like my character is either like incapacitated or missing or murdered or something, but like the scenario, the mystery behind it is not solved, it would be a really cool intro. And then what would be also even cooler for some instances where we do a short that is the prelude to a longer game, is if the longer game is played with other people. That way,
yeah. So it's gonna depend from thing to thing, because there might be a scenario where I choose to do that because I want to do that. You know what I mean? And you know what? Like in the future, Tanner might end up being a keeper. You never know. Icarus Crispy. Your first name is Tanner. People might be confused about this because Hot Dog Prophet, my first name is Nathan. Also called Nate when I want to sound like I'm cool. But so you might end up running a game later. Maybe you want to do that. I don't know. This one was intended to be short, but what did I say? Do whatever anyone else wants to do that. And the next one that we're going to run is going to be short too, and hopefully makes it like easier to listen to. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to do ones that are longer. We will end up doing. Well, usually when I run them, when we play them without recording it, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours. And the reason for that is mostly because I find that a lot of people can't play past that point because their butt starts to hurt and they start to get tired. It's just how it is. So,
but what we found with that is that, and this is why I like Call of Cthulhu more than Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, to each their own. But by the end of the game, whether the players succeed or whether they die and it's very negative or nihilistic or whatever, they play out like a good horror movie. And that's why I enjoy it as a fan of horror, is that the game feels like a movie.
Yeah, that's why I like doing one-shot scenarios of Call of Cthulhu, is because it's more like a movie. Like I right now preparing to finally do like a proper in-person campaign. I'm running Horror on the Orient Express for some friends in person, and it is like, it's awesome. I'm finally getting to do it because I've mostly just done the one-shot scenarios, and the reason is mostly because it's hard to get people to come back, to be able to come back every week. People are busy and stuff like that. So doing the one-shots means, and also doing them one night. Like a lot of scenarios, it's traditional for some reason with Call of Cthulhu or normal for them to split up over like 2 or even 3 nights. And it's like, it's a mystery. You're not even going to remember anything. How do you solve that? So I prefer to run them in a single night, and I prefer them to be like an hour and a half to 2 hours, because it's just easier. So but now some keepers might object to that because that means I have to cut a lot of stuff or change a lot of things. But for my own scenarios, I just write them that they work that way. And I don't know. I just think it's more fun that way. But again, to each your own, however you want to play it. This is one of the great things about this. The reason I started playing these games is because if you play the computer games like Skyrim, just offhand, or like Fallout or something, those are great, but they can't respond to things that you did in a creative way. They can't make things up on the spot, the stuff that you did.
Yeah.
And that's why I started playing these games, so do whatever you want to do with it. I think I'm saying that a little too much, so that'll be less.
No,
the last time I said it. But,
you're good.
Yeah.
I think this was good.
Yeah, I think this was a fun discussion. I hope people enjoyed it. If anyone freaking even watches it, and we will do the next one probably next week. I believe I am free, at least time frame wise. Want to do this next week, so we're gonna try to come out with another one the very next week.
All right, let's have our sign off.
So for Radio Cthulhu, this is Nathan
and Tanner
signing out.